A fascinating thing that came out of all this was one comment from James Boswell asked the question, I love these speculative questions, which camp would Beethoven himself have aligned himself with had he lived? You know, would he have been on Brahms's side of the discussion, or would he identify more with Liszt or with Wagner? Of course, with any speculative question of this kind, it's almost impossible to say with any real certainty, but it would be a fascinating thing had Beethoven lived to the 1850s, which would be a kind of a modern old age. If he'd lived to his 80s and he'd lived to, you know, let's say 1854, actually he would have missed Brahms's mature work altogether if he'd lived to that age. You know, Brahms is a lot later, and he would only have encountered Wagner's earlier operas. I think had Beethoven lived to the late 1850s, he would, like Berlioz, have been perhaps completely baffled probably by the chromatic harmony of Tristan and Isolde. I think he would have found that very strange, as everyone at that time did. Imagine if Beethoven had lived to the 1840s and heard the Flying Dutchman. I think he probably would have been flattered that the overture very clearly is indebted to the Ninth Symphony, you know, with its wonderful opening. You know, it's wonderful strident fifths, its mysterious fifths, which are kind of like the opening of the Ninth Symphony. But I think Beethoven would probably have found it a bit histrionic. He wasn't an enormous fan of Weber, who influenced the Flying Dutchman just as much as his own music, probably more. What would he have made of Brahms? If he'd heard the early piano sonatas which were written in the 1850s when Brahms was very young, well, I think he would have been impressed that a young composer was writing like that, but he probably would have thought they were a bit overwritten. That's my hunch. Let me know what you think.